Police officer Michael Fanone says he could tell, based on the tenor of the speeches from former President Donald Trump and his allies on the morning of January 6th, that it was going to be a difficult day. But he was not expecting a violent insurrection during which an angry mob would pull him into the crowd, beat him under the banner of a pro-police Blue Lives Matter flag, and repeatedly tase him the base of his skull. Well, thankfully, Officer Fanone says he is doing well in his recovery, both mentally and physically. He says the trauma of what he experienced that day is exacerbated by politicians who refuse to acknowledge the severity of what transpired.
What makes the struggle harder and more painful is to know so many of my fellow citizens, including so many of the people I put my life at risk to defend, are downplaying or outright denying what happened. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. The indifference shown to my colleagues is disgraceful.
And Metropolitan Police Officer Michael Fanone joins me now. It's good to have you back, and I wanted to first get your reaction to the vote today, voting to issue this subpoena for Steve Bannon, who's sort of just kind of thumbed his nose at the committee. 9 Republicans voting yes, all Democrats voting yes, and 209 Republicans voting no. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm glad that they voted to enforce the subpoena. I'm coming at this from a law enforcement perspective. You know, we serve subpoenas pretty frequently. We certainly don't need to take a vote of like the entire, DC U.S. Attorney's Office or the Metropolitan Police Department to come to the conclusion that a subpoena needs to be enforced. I feel bad for the members of the committee that have to go through this kind of, circus just to enforce a subpoena.
It's interesting you just said that, because I think you point to something that hangs over this entire story. You're a police officer, and you've spent your life and career as a police officer, and policing in America can be a very fraught topic. It can be polarizing in certain ways, and yet the thing that stands out in this story is a group of people show up at the Capitol and violently assault a bunch of police officers, in some cases under a literal Blue Lives Matter flag. Saying that they are there, on the side of police against the unruly mobs. I want to show this clip from the HBO documentary on this that actually shows this precise moment of you being assaulted underneath a Blue Lives Matter flag. Take a look.
I looked back to my right and Mike was gone. He just wasn't there anymore. A mob grabbed him, started pulling him down, and I was just like, oh no, this guy's like dead. A member of the crowd grabbed me, and I remember hearing him yell out, I got one.
I got one! You can see that Blue Lives Matter flag waving over that assault. And I wonder how you think about that when you see that footage, when you think about how the protesters see themselves in relation to law enforcement, how Republicans talk about law enforcement and square that with what happened that day and what's happened subsequently.
I think this ties into a conversation that I've been having with my colleagues for quite some time. I don't want police officers to be politicized. None of us do. Law enforcement does not want to be politicized. Unfortunately, we've been pulled into the political arena over the past, 8-10 years.